remember, I mean, with Dr. Don and you, the dynamic duo of patches is X39 and Eon. You know, that's the place to start. I don't care where anybody is in their health, whatever age they are, those two patches are what I would call the base point. This is what you need to be doing, you know, because a lot of people, you know, we have a tendency to want to address health issues all the time, you know, specifically. And really what we need to do is get away from that and just deal with what can we do to create the environment for the body to heal itself. And so X39 and Eon does that. And of course, my third favorite patch I would have to say is glutathione. And, you know, glutathione is the master antioxidant of the body. When you put the patch on for 12 hours on and off, your glutathione levels are up by 300%. Now, folks, this is unreal. Because glutathione, I like to call, you know, the master antioxidant, they're like the Pac-Mans of the body. They go around eating up all the bad stuff, fighting the sickness, the cancer cells, the free radicals, all of that in your body. And in the longevity studies, you know, they found that people that are living 90 to 100 to 120, we're talking about people living, Dr. Stacy, not with a diaper on in the nursing home, but they're riding bicycles, chopping wood, living in the community, you know, and having an active life up into their 100 plus years old. And one of the things that is key for them, yes, they have healthy telomeres, healthy stem cell production, but their glutathione levels are higher than average. Now, there's a lot of reasons why that is we can't get into right now, but we have what I call another magic bullet with the glutathione. If you're fighting infection, disease, afraid of the big C word or cancer, put that glutathione on every day. Those would be the top three patches for me as a base, but of course I wear them all, so they're all important.
I love it. Absolutely. I feel the same way. I've been using glutathione every day for a year and a half. And I absolutely feel, of course, with X39, Eon, and some others, carnosine as well, too, because antioxidants are so important. And we know they decline in our body as we age, and we know our abilities, you know, our ability to repair is declining as well with our age. And so, of course, we all want to stay young and youthful and feel amazing and prevent. I love how Dr. Don talked about that prevention as well as you, Dr. Stan. Prevention is so key, and that's why I became a part of LifeWave as well, for the prevention, for the vitality, and for the longevity. And so, you know, a year and a half later, I'm still amazed every day at the testimonials that are coming in for people that are suffering, you know, with pain, with inflammation, with, you know, many of the things that you all mentioned, of course, and their immune systems are compromised. We know that more than ever. Those things are really important to address. And we have a very simple technology. Every patch looks just like this. It's just that I love how Dr. Don said that matrix, that lattice structure that's embedded in the patch is different of each patch. And so they're signaling different peptides in the body, but all work individually and all work synergistically together as well too. And again, with no side effects, no contraindications or anything that's harmful or toxic or anything at all going into the body. This is a wearable light technology. So thank you guys for sharing those. We do have some questions. And so I want to ask those questions, and you guys, whoever wants to answer can, of course. But let's start back up here at the top. There were so many that just came in all of the sudden. They're so excited to hear from you. All right, so let's ask a question. They were asking about the telomeres. And of course, with the X39, we talked about the Alavita, or we talked about X39, but they wanted to know if X39 lengthens them. Of course, we know that Alavita does, and carnosine supports that. But someone was asking about inflammation. And so since inflammation is accelerated in order to burn off dead tissue before it can be repaired, is it prudent to be wearing the Eon with the X39 all of the time?
Yeah, I say for sure it is. And remember, inflammation is not a bad thing. When it's kept in balance in your body, and it's not chronic inflammation, it's not eating your body up, it is just part of the immune response of the body going into repair mode, which you want constantly to be going on but in balance. Once again, it's back to that word balance, homeostasis, that balance that when you get out of that, you get out of ease, you get into dis-ease. So wanting to stay in that balance of inflammation, and that's what Eon will help you do, keep that inflammation from being out of balance, which not only is damaging your cells and tissues and organs, but also is consuming stem cells. So you're doing a couple things when you're wearing that Eon, and I love to use those patches, that dynamic duo, the X39 and the Eon anti-inflammatory patch, because they do synergize so well. Synergy means 2 + 2 can equal a lot more than 4, might equal 10. And I believe that's the situation when you're using X39 with the Eon. So yes, use them together. And we didn't mention this yet, but of course, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Why do you do that? Why can't you just leave the patch on if it's natural and it's doing the natural thing? It wouldn't be dangerous to do that, but the body can acclimate to things. So you want to make sure you have your 12-hour off period as well, so that when you put that patch on again, you get 100% benefit from the patch, utilizing the technology for its fullest benefit in your body. But I'd use them together consistently, ongoing.
Perfect.
Well, and the other thing I would add is that these patches are non-transdermal. They're not putting anything into the body to contradict or harm anything in the body. I like to think of the word I think of is adaptogenic. Like some herbs are adaptogenic. I believe the patches, in my opinion, are adaptogenic. They're going to instinctively help your body the way that it needs to be helped. A lot of times, medical doctors and different people are just shooting in the dark, throwing a pill at something, hoping they're diagnosing. That's why they call it, Dr. Don, practicing medicine. They're practicing on you, trying to figure out what's going wrong. But where these patches are just working to stimulate the body's own production of peptides, to stimulate stem cell production, to help the body heal itself. So to me, there's no contradiction in any of it. It's just all complementary and adaptogenic in their approach.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Somebody asked, because we have about 30 questions that popped up here, so we're going to zip through them pretty quick. Somebody asked, can using X39 create an imbalance of copper or any mineral in the body?
No, I can answer that for sure. What it will do is stimulate the production of the GHK peptide, which then picks up copper that's already in your body, but it will not interfere with the copper balance in your body. So you don't have to worry about that.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Someone wants to you to explain more about how to use LifeWave.
You go ahead, Dr. Don. That's your favorite patch system there.
Okay, well, it's a 2-patch system, so you do get 30 patches, but of course you're using 2 a day, so it ends up being 15 days worth. But white goes on the right, and then you try to balance that to the other side with the tan patch, and that's how you use it. And it's very simple, and there's a instruction on how to do that specifically, because you can move the brown patch to wherever you need it to be. But I would put that right on the area of the pain, and then whatever corresponds to the right of that, I would put the white to the right. It deals with the energy flows in your body. So follow the instructions. They're simple instructions on how to place those. And if you're not getting the results, you just move one of those patches. You move the white patch to where it needs to be, and eventually it will get to the point where it's making a huge difference.
Fantastic. Thank you. We also have YouTube videos. If you go to LifeWave Health, which is LifeWave's YouTube channel, you can see David Schmidt showing, there's actually a 4-part series on the LifeWave in different places and locations. You can apply that based on your need. Someone asked me privately, are the patches safe for use in pediatric and adolescent population? And I'll just share with you, because of my own personal experience, we do not have clinical studies, of course, with children. at all. And so we can't say that they're safe to use with children or adolescents. The first two people I patched were my 16-year-old and 18-year-old for myself personally. So that would obviously be a personal choice. But do either of you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I guess I will. You know, the question is, what kind of benefits are kids going to get, or should they use the patches? Well, to me, this question's a no-brainer because it's non-transdermal. As with an adult, if you put a patch on a younger person, it's simply going to take the energy from your own body and reflect healthy wavelengths of light. I mean, we're exposed to unhealthy wavelengths of light, fluorescent lighting and electromagnetic things that are not good for us all the time. Why not have some healthy, we know, wavelengths that do very good things to our body? So as far as safe, absolutely. Now, are they going to get the benefits that someone who's 60 years old and lost 90% of their stem cell activity from the X39, would you get that kind of benefit with a younger person? Not necessarily, because they haven't lost that activity, but it can be doing so many other things. GHK does a lot of other things in your body too. So to me, it's safe, and why not try it? That's personal. But I would say, check with your physician, ask your pediatrician, but nothing's passing into the body, so it's perfectly safe to try that, in my opinion. I certainly use it with my children.
And you
the only thing I would add, Dr. Stacy, is I find that it's interesting. Statistically now, they have shown that children that are growing up now, teenagers, we're now, for the first time in recorded history, the lifespan of kids right now are going to be less than our lifespan. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We know it's lifestyle, environmental, there's a lot of factors there. So our children and adolescents and teenagers are faced with a food supply that's less than desirable. The air, the water, the quality of life is just not there, which is why we're starting to see lifestyle diseases in children, which is terrible. It's awful to see a child, suffer from cancer or stroke. We know of elementary kids now that are having strokes and heart attacks. And so in the environment that we're in, if it was my child, I would not hesitate to use the patches on my child for sure.
Thank you also for that insight. That's fabulous. So I know we can't talk about specific diseases, but someone did ask if there's anything they can do to help build cartilage. They have severe arthritis in one hip. They're using X39, X49 for 6 months now. Is there a way you'd want to address that, looking at the physiology of the body, Dr. Don?
Yeah, for sure there is. When you're trying to rebuild a joint, which you can do, I know some people out there in the medical community will say you just can't. You may be able to slow down the aging, but you can't reverse it. It is not true. Your body's constantly renewing and restoring, but there are several things you can do to facilitate that process. One is to control the inflammation. Of course, you're going to do that with EON. The other one is to stimulate and activate stem cell pathways to help in that specific rejuvenating process. So definitely you'd want to make sure you had those two things going. And then I think some people would also want to use the glutathione just because it's helping in that area of anti-aging and free radical damage control and then restoration as well. So I think those three patches would facilitate that process. It's the body that's rebuilding the joint, not the patches. Of course, we don't make those claims, but recommending to keep your body in that balanced state, that's what patches are doing.
And that's the excitement too, Dr. Stacy, of stem cell, and why everybody's so excited about stem cells. It's just, as Dr. Don said, it's kind of a hit and miss industry right now. You might could take a shot of stem cells and it may hurt you as well as help you. It could be a two-edged sword. And the technology hasn't caught up with what we have in our hands. But the science used to tell us telomeres couldn't rebuild. They used to tell us that brain cells, once they're gone, they're gone. But now the new science is telling us through the stem cell activation, these things can rebuild and restore, which to me is exciting about what our company is offering people is anti-aging, reverse aging, slowing the aging process down. And that's by keeping the body working the way that it did when it was a teenager. So that's what we're doing with the patches. We're helping you to stay young. And when you're doing that, things like cartilage and tissues, they are going to naturally rebuild.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, Dr. Stan, I want a question for you since you had spoke earlier about your blood pressure coming down 30 points. Someone asked if they were on blood pressure medication and using the X39, could your blood pressure possibly go below normal?
Well, absolutely. That's why when you're doing something like this, you should always be monitoring your blood pressure, because the good news is you may need to go to the doctor and tell them my blood pressure's too low instead of too high. I need to start weaning, work with your doctor and tell them you're making lifestyle changes and this is what you're doing, and let them help you wean off the medication as needed, So again, you don't ever just want to quit medication no time for no reason. Work with your medical doctor, but that's good news, yes, so now you can start getting rid of some of those medicines you've been using.
Fantastic. All right, so what do you guys think about doubling up on patches? One person asked if you thought it was an idea to stack one patch on top of another on top of a specific acupuncture point.
I don't think there's any danger in doing it or harm in doing it. I think it's worth a try if people aren't getting the kinds of results that they want. Although just using the patches as recommended, eventually you will get the results. I mean, things are happening. The minute you put the patch on, as I mentioned earlier, at the genetic level, it's affecting 3,000 to 4,000 genes in the genome. That's about a fourth of your total genome immediately. That's happening, but it can take some time to see that manifestation. So,
yeah, and David said that it's, or the inventor of the patches has told us it's really not necessary to double patch. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Stacy, but just listening to him, he doesn't really say you need to do it. Now, I know some people do it, and if you do it, I don't know that it's going to hurt anything, harm anything, and if it helps, then it helps. But again, I don't know that it would be absolutely necessary, but if you think it will, I would say it wouldn't hurt anything.
Yeah, I know David said last weekend at the conference in France, we were talking about patching. Someone asked about doing 2 X39s, and he said you may get 20-30% more improvement, but it's not worth it using that extra patch. You're wasting too much of it. Right. I know in specific situations, sometimes people like to stack different patches on top of each other. Like someone had asked about ringing in the ears, and so I know if you put, energy enhancer, one on the right, one on the left, and then put that Eon over top of the right energy enhancer. Sometimes people do that. They stack different patches on top of each other, but it's not required. Like Dr. Don said, they're working no matter what. They will get to whatever is needed in the order that your body needs. So keep that in mind. Someone did have a question, though. They ask about when they've had radiation after breast cancer. They're no longer going through breast cancer treatments or radiation, but what patch would be best to help the area repair itself?
Well, you're going to have a lot of inflammation in that situation for sure. I mean, radiation creates it. So you definitely want to be using the Eon patch. And then even greater reason to use the X39 with it, because you want your immune system cells, for example, to be strong and to stand against any cancer that might try to rear its ugly head again. So those two, the dynamic duo, the